death is inevitable. And it's just a part of the human experience, which we all share and we all know. So it just shapes your perspective on life. And it's just so interesting recording this conversation because it just feels so like there's some disillusionment there. But anyway, I'm talking about vanity. So vanity is an excessive pride or admiration in your own appearance or your own achievements. And this is just central to how people approach both life and death. So I believe that in the 21st century, a lot more people are subjected to vanity, which is causing a lot of our problems today. And vanity, when it dominates your thinking, it's impossible to just completely divorce yourself from it. And this makes this conversation about mortality all the more important. So, the reason I want to talk about mortality is just to discuss nihilism. So, nihilism is the rejection of meaning, value, or purpose in life. From a philosophical stance, it suggests that life, objects, and people lack inherent meaning. So, there are various forms, such as epistemological nihilism, which questions whether knowledge is actually possible. And this directly influences how some people view or experience death, especially if they don't adhere to religious beliefs. So, for example, some people may be Christian and they might have a belief that the faith that you have in eternal life, that's where you're going after you die. Some people are not Christian. Some people don't believe in the afterlife in general. But for others, death may feel like the ultimate embodiment of nothingness. So that's kind of the context of nihilism that I'm using today. So whether it's a transition from eternity or just a deeper reflection of being. So when you reflect on the human condition, or when I specifically reflect on it, I see life in a series of moments. So for some people, they live their life moment to moment or in an incremental way. And they experience life in isolated instances. So for me, I tend to live my life in moments within the space of time, and I use my episodic memory, sometimes known as autobiographical memory, to kind of recall these information or these instances of happenings. And this just allows me to trace patterns and connections in my own life over time. So I am not okay with simply just existing in each moment without deeper reflection. Some people are okay to exist without reflecting on every single moment in their life. So also I want to talk about the notion of emotional numbness. So emotional numbness refers to someone's inability to express emotions, which complicates how they may experience life or death. So the way that they interpolate kind of emotions in a way that they interpolate this into their everyday lives, in their writing, and just the way that they engage with others, it can impact them. So this condition can cause individuals to detach from any sense of purpose. And it doesn't always lead to negative things like suicidal ideation, which is the thought or continuous thought of considering to take your own life or to take one's life. But it can make some people indifferent to like the meaning of like behind life. So have you ever just sat down and said, why am I here? That's kind of like the question or the existential question we all ask ourselves. But I want to say to die well, arguably, is to live well in the way that you think and the way that you organize yourself and your emotions. So the concepts of sadness and despair must be explained and distinguished. Sadness is temporary, fleeting, and despair is a little deeper. It's more when you feel there's like a profound loss, a hope, and you're just like, you know what? I'm done. So while sadness, it passes, despair actually lingers, and it can affect your ability to live life. And this is when people approach life in a different way. So to live in a way that transcends the messiness of life is important. I personally like to engage in ethical living. When I say ethical, I mean living in alignment with my personal values or truths, which is gonna allow me to live life um, with no regrets, but also approach death with little to no regrets. Regret is something we also might have. You may not. But in my own life, I also tend to write. Let me drink some water. It's not that I'm tired of talking to y'all. It's literally because I just feel it's imperative to drink water. But also, it's just important for me to like stop to explain these concepts. So because I wrote them all out beforehand and I recorded everything, but I just wanted to put a face to what I'm saying. Next time I probably won't. I probably would just record it like a sound bite because I don't like vanity, believe it or not. But anyway, yeah, so I was talking about writing my memoir. So writing it taught me a lot about resilience, and it's just funny because it should be like somewhere behind me. I'm looking at my books. It's probably not. Is that it? Oh, that's somebody else's memoir I published. Um, hmm. Nope. Let me find it. I'm trying to find it desperately without getting up. Okay. This. This is my memoir. I'm sorry. I'm just I asked Alexa to play like ballet piano, and Alexa is over here playing Seven Rings by Ariana Grande, but the piano version, and it's just so funny to me. I'm like, what is this? It's just, where has the classical music gone? Where has the, you know what? We'll talk about this later. But this is just funny. It's crazy. Anyway, this is a memoir that I wrote called The Emotional Healing Behind Words. So it pretty much like tells you different elements of like my life in a way that I wanted to like epitomize it. But it's just so interesting that we're talking about resilience, because for me, obviously I've been through a lot, and this is an essential part of what I call my large life. So basically, a large life for me is a life that's not defined by linear time. It's more circular. Obviously, there's key moments in time that kind of delineate my personal growth, but my memoir itself isn't a chronological story, but it's rather a reflection of significant episodes or moments in my life. So there are moments that are bad. Obviously, there are moments that are good. However, when accumulated, all these moments, show resilience. So, this is integral to how I understand my life as more circular than linear. So, also, I believe that documenting life is important. I'm going to document everything. Obviously, as like an English literature person, I document everything. And in some of my journals, they're like up top, I documented like things just from the early 2000s. So I love documentation. Maybe one day we'll go through some of my journal articles. We're not going through, not the articles, but the journals themselves. So for me, I like to capture like my experiences in a narrative storytelling way. And I feel like impermanence, or the transient temporary nature of life, is what gives these deeper moments kind of the momentum in the life. And one example of this is my experience when I was in the hospital in England. So I was really sick, and when I am like ill, weirdly, in the hospitals, I go, but I just go and just like act like I'm like a part of the furniture, literally. Like I'll go and I'm just there praying for people, talking to people, helping people get discharged faster to make them kind of feel a little bit better about what's going on in their life. So anyway, I was just like walking because I was sick myself. I think I had like a respiratory infection, and I was like walking around because I love the hospital. I don't know why. I just like, it's just like I don't like the illness and the suffering, but I feel like when I'm there, a lot of people, you know, they might need somebody to talk to, and it just, oh, I don't know. I just love the hospital, so don't judge me. But anyway, I was like walking, and there was this one section, and I was like, this is giving dead people. Like the feeling that I got in that specific section, I was like, I mean, obviously people pass away, obviously in the hospital and in general. And that kind of takes me to this entire talk because my own mom, she passed away when she was 30. And now me kind of being that same age, I'm like, death is going to happen. It's inevitable. But the hospital, that that death, it felt a little different. So when I was there, I just kind of discerned the atmosphere, and I learned the atmosphere was like charged with like the presence of death in that one little area of the hospital I was in, and it made me kind of reflect on like life being fleeting. But then this janitor walked by, and I don't know if I looked lost. I mean, it was an interesting part of the hospital. Like it was just like empty hospital beds, the lights, okay, they weren't flickering like a scary movie, but the lights were dim. And you can tell nobody was there. It was like an abandoned place. And I just like felt, So then the janitor was like, this used to be a morgue, the morgue area of the hospital. And I was like, see, I knew it. Because the way that when I was there, I was like, not a negative way, but I just felt. So basically, moments like those just remind me of life's like impermanence. And it's actually what makes it beautiful. And for me, since I was young, like not a little young, like very young, I always felt the presence of like death. I know I'm saying this with a smile, but when I say I felt the presence, it was like I just knew, kind of like, okay, something is about to happen or somebody about to die. And I thought maybe I'm weird, but now, I mean, honestly, there have been some times when I've done some phone calls and had some sit downs with people, and I just knew, even though like, I can pray for people, there have been times where people have died. So dealing with death is like not an easy thing. And I think at the end of the day, like we're all going to die. So facing death is inevitable, but living well and documenting your life, it allows you to face death with fewer regrets. So mortality is just the state of being subject to a death. So when I say like we're all gonna die, it's not to be like a negative Nancy or create like a negative connotation on the idea of dying or to perpetuate it or to make it come sooner. But it's just saying that it's a shared human experience, and other mammals, they die. So how we approach it, whether we live intentionally or document our lives, is just as important as how others will actually eulogize us once we're gone. So yeah, I just wanted to come tell y'all about this topic. It's obviously really philosophy heavy, but it's also basic as well. So